This time I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Education retreat to order. Roll call, Dean Edward, Zach Gray, Dr. Chavis, Richard Jenkins, here. Linwood Weeks, here. Jamon Whitfield, Blank Dunton, Chris Bissett, here. Dr. Washington. This time I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Ellis.
So good afternoon. So once again, we're going to be presenting to the board, we call it our board retreat, some of our accomplishments and highlights of this year. So it's an honor and a privilege to be before you today as we reflect on those accomplishments from last year. We've had many significant strides in the areas this year that we're going to discuss, from raising academic performance to expanding student services, improving school safety, and investing in our staff. The growth we see in this district is a result of the hard work and unwavering commitment of this unique district and this wonderful staff. So, Romaine, if you can pull this up for me. And I'll start if you'll go to the first slide. So board, what I wanted to hit on this, and I'm going to do this quickly. There are some links to this and you can see them. We're going to briefly go over them. About 4 years ago, we started talking about a strategic plan that was pretty simple and basic that we all could understand. I'm going to click on that now, if you can, Mr. McQueen. What you'll see is it's about a 4 or 5 page document that goes over basically district goals. We went from one that had probably 42 pages to a very simple one with our mission and vision, and it talks about specific goals. And I'm going to let you all just kind of, that's in your link. I'm not going to really go over it. We've talked about that. The one thing I am going to say is that we will have a new strategic plan this year that Mr. Ward and Dr. Royce are working on that we'll be presenting probably around September, October. Thing about this strategic plan that I think kind of puts us all on the same page is that we have certain goals, and we'll talk about that shortly. But my senior staff, school improvement plans, and principal evaluations all go back to this strategic plan. So I'm going to ask Mr. McQueen to hit that senior staff one. I'm going to pick on Miss Nancy Smith. Her goals basically mimic the strategic plan. And you've got this link. I'm not going to go over it, but it talks about certain goals. The next one is, click off that one. You're going to see school improvement plans are all by, each school has their own school improvement plans. And it's basically, they pick about 2 of our district goals to choose. And you can look at that. And the next one is principals evaluations. And I think I chose one from Northern Nash that Mr. Johnson did. And he basically picks about 2 of our district goals and he pushes them into the school improvement plan. So a strategic plan for us is basically we pick goals, and schools, principals, my evaluation, my senior staff all reflect those goals. So now let's go to the strategic plan. Next slide. So once I discuss these goals, each member of cabinet is going to come up and present if they met their goals, some of the highlights, and if you have any questions, we go from there. And I believe the first one is increased grade level proficiency across all grade subjects by 5%, and that would be Miss Melissa Dancy Smith.
Good afternoon.
No.
Next slide, please. So,
The next, yeah, there you go.
next slide. So, unfortunately, I am unable to share with you our EOG score, but we have some predictions. Just know that business rules have not been applied, and we cannot share the actual data to the public until our state Board of Education meeting. So what that means for right now is all scores are embargoed. Know also that all of the data that we are using, we're using it for planning instructionally, but also for our professional development for the upcoming school year. You all know that when we actually receive the data with business rules applied, that we will receive a school performance grade. And those grades can rank from A to the letter F. In our elementary schools, as well as our middle schools, note that 80% of the score of that grade will come from our EOGs, Math 1, EOCs, our English Learner Progress, ACT, Work Keys, Math Rigor, and also the high school graduation rate. But 20% of the data comes from growth. So it is critically important that we have more students proficient because the majority of our school performance grade comes from growth. So before I move on to the next slide, I would like to share this information with you. The United States ranks 125th out of 194 countries in our literacy rate. 54% of adults between the age of 16 and 74 years old lack proficiency in literacy. You can translate that to mean that they read below the 6th grade level. And 66% or 2/3 of students who cannot read proficiently by the end of 4th grade will end up in jail or on welfare. You may be asking, why is this important? So the next slide moves to our DIBELS data. And DIBELS looks at basic foundational reading skills, and it's designed for the purpose of letting teachers and principals know what they can do to prevent reading failure. So at the beginning of the school year, we had approximately 48% of our students in grades K-8 who were not proficient. By the end of the year, we had 29% of our students who were not proficient in reading in grades kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. So as a district, Nash County Public Schools reduced the number of students at risk of failing failure by 705 students. Why is this important? Because if our kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade teachers, 3rd can't make it happen, then it's very unlikely that by the time kids get in middle school that they will learn to read. Having been a middle school principal with an elementary background, middle school teachers just aren't trained to teach children how to read. So if we don't get it right before they leave elementary school, we certainly will continue to increase that literacy rate. Next slide. So how did we rank when we compare to the state? NCPS in kindergarten was at 76%. The state was at 73%. In 1st grade, NCPS 74%, the state at 71%. 2nd grade, we were at 69%, the state was at 66%. 3rd grade, the state was at 66%. No, I'm sorry, Nash County was at 66% and the state was at 59%. We are outpacing the state in K-3 foundational reading scores with proficiency and growth, with the exception of 2 areas. And the next slide will show us that. So if you look at that second bullet, Nash County Public Schools growth in K-3 literacy data is greater than the state in kindergarten, 2nd, and 3rd grade. Well, in 1st grade, the state is outpacing us with growth, but we're doing a better job of closing academic gaps, specifically those gaps that were exacerbated during COVID. Next slide. So at this time, I'll ask Dr. Mudd to come forward and he will share with you some very preliminary EOG results.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
So we'll just kind of talk about what information we have and share that with you at this point. As Ms. Nancy Smith said, this is just raw information that we've calculated from our end. We haven't received any of the information from the state yet because they haven't applied any of those rules. And so just like last year, once we get all that, we'll come back and share it with you. But just wanted to give you a heads up on where we are now. So Mr. McQueen can go ahead and click the link there. So the link's going to take you to a spreadsheet that you can review at your time. And this is basically kind of what we just keep track of and share with our principals. And so you can see kind of on the left, you'll have all of the data from 23, 24, EOG data, and on the right, you'll have 24, 25. And at the bottom, we have different tabs for different grade levels, which we'll kind of go through in a minute. And then the top is going to be reading, and then he'll scroll down and there'll be math at the bottom if you're kind of looking at yourself. And so essentially it's formatted so that anything that turns green means it's higher than it was the previous year. And so these are percentages of CCR represents college and career ready. That's your 4s and 5s on your EOGs. And then the GLP is grade level proficient, meaning 3, 4s, and 5s. So if you notice 23, 24 in math across the board in most schools, we were higher than we were the previous year. And then on the right, if you notice, that was this past year, 24, 25, we've increased again in almost every subject and at nearly every school. If you'll notice the AO category there in the kind of blue, that is the additional opportunity testing. And so that includes those that were proficient on that quote unquote retest we do after the end of the school year when we invite those students back that weren't proficient. And so we do, as you can see, a lot of schools gain quite a bit of proficiency from that additional opportunity testing after a few days of remediation with those students that weren't proficient. So that's 3rd grade. At the bottom, it's totaled for the district. So you can kind of see the district average there at the bottom. If you're concerned about overall district performance, you can see 4th grade there, Mr. Queen at the bottom. Same information by school, 23, 24, 24, 25. Again, you'll notice lots of increases in 23, 24, but then we also had another successful year at nearly every school in terms of increasing again. And you'll notice the percentages there. Those numbers represent increases in percentage points, right? So for example, Benvenue there at the bottom in math, 45.16 in 23, 24. That was 21 points higher than they were the previous year. And then they increased another 11 points this year to end at 56.79. So you can see, in terms of the number of students proficient across the district, we've got some large increases at certain places. 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, you'll notice elementary school we increased in across the district. The average across the district was an increase in every grade, every subject. If you go to middle school, it was nearly an increase in every grade, every subject. 6th grade math was the one area where we're slightly below where we were last year. Every other area was an increase. When you click on the science tab, you'll notice there's no information there. That's because the science scores are going through a renorming process this year, and we don't have those results back yet from the state. Those are expected later this week. And then EOC tab represents your EOCs. That's your Math 1, which is 8th grade and high school, your Math 3, your English 2, and then the biology scores are with those science scores. We haven't received those results back, so you won't see anything in the biology category either. But the EOCs, very similar increases in all of our EOCs across the district from last year. So in terms of proficiency, as Ms. Nancy Smith said, we had a successful year and increased the number of students that are proficient. And so we'll highlight some areas. So these next couple slides just highlight some of our largest increases across the district. These are district-wide numbers. Again, no rules applied. These are just the percentages. So what we're comparing here would be the rules applied last year. So 23, 24, those were after all the rules were applied. And then 24, 25 is just our raw numbers. Typically, once they apply the rules, typically we get a slight increase with certain students removed. But proficiency increased in 14 and 15 subjects, as I said earlier, 6th grade math being the one area that saw the slight decrease. That does not include grade 5 science, grade 8 science, or biology because we haven't received those scores back. 10 of the 15 subjects, our proficiency is surpassed where we were prior to COVID. And so I know a lot of people talk about the amount of loss that was and the time to come back from that. And a lot of districts, the state has put out some reports and different things about certain places not having recovered from that. In the majority of our grades and subjects, we've surpassed where we were prior to COVID. So that would have been proficiency levels in 18, 19, 19, 20. Our levels now are higher than they were at those years in 10 of 15 subjects. Most of the subjects that are still behind are in the middle school. And so if you just think about where those students were who are in middle school now, where they were 4 or 5 years ago during COVID, that's early elementary school, who were probably the most impacted in terms of learning loss and things like that. So those are the ones that we're still having to find some areas of growth. And then you see on the right the areas across the district that had kind of the highest increases from one year to next. So quite a few double-digit increases in terms of percent of students proficient, which is significant. The next slide, I think, goes into middle school. So you can kind of see, even though we are still behind areas in middle school, we do have areas where we're making year-over-year growth in terms of proficiency. So that's a very positive sign in those areas. Same with high school. Again, no math, no biology data, no grade 8 science data. So that takes some of the areas out. And then the very last slide there is our current, sorry, if we go back, the very last row on that table there is our overall proficiency. So that would be all grades, all subjects of EOGs and EOCs without the science. And so we are 4 percentage points higher than we were last year. So that's a 10% increase from where we were last year. And that does not include our science scores where last year it did. And typically our science scores are higher in terms of percent proficient than the other subjects. So I think when we get the science scores back, I would anticipate there being a slight bump inside above the 4 points that were already higher than we were last year. So I would expect those numbers to go up slightly, even though the test was renormed. And the next slide talks about growth. Subgroups. So this breaks the data down by subgroups. And so looking at some of our subgroups and making growth in terms of the number of proficient students within each subgroup. So not just having overall growth, but making sure we're having growth across all subgroups. So again, currently 11 of the 12 subgroups that we have data for are currently higher than they were last year in terms of percent proficient. And again, that's without science. So I would suspect that last subgroup will probably ultimately be higher once the science scores are added in to this year. And you can see on the right there, some of the subgroups with the highest growth from the year previous, with the highest number of proficient students. And then the growth information, again, is not available until the state releases that after the September board meeting, and they haven't calculated. They're further behind this year than normal because there's no science information yet. So they can't calculate the growth until they get the science scores approved at the August meeting. And then the next slide is from our ML department, Mr. Daza and his team, in terms of the number of students who were proficient on the access test. So all of our students identified as ML yearly take the access test. And so when the first year they're in the country, they get a score from the access test. And then you have, depending on what your score is, you have up to 5 years to exit the program. And you're supposed to make a certain amount of progress every year until you make that exiting criteria. And that's all based individually based on what you score the first year in the country when you take the test the first year. The exit criteria from the state of North Carolina, they petitioned the U.S. Department of Education, and it was approved late July for the exit criteria to actually come down from 4.8 to 4.5, which obviously helps everyone. And so you can see last year we had 46 students who were exited meeting that 4.8 criteria. 9 students who take the alternate access exited. And so those are the students who are on like the extended content standards. They also are required to take the access test if they're English learners. This year with the 4.5 criteria, we had 97 students exited the program, and over half of those students were in that 4.5 to 4.8 range. And so we have typically always have a lot of students who are on that kind of cusp. And so that exit criteria moving to 4.5 really helped our students exit the program. And then the alternate exit information hasn't been released yet. So we can't apply any criteria to those students or know how many of those students are actually going to exit the program because they haven't released the criteria for that yet. So it's a quick overview of all of our data. I think that's all of my slides. I don't think there's another one, Mr. Queen. Oh, sorry. One more slide just basically says that we don't have the growth information, right? So these are our goals that strategic priorities address growth in terms of school performance grades and things like that. But that information, as Ms. Nancy Smith, hasn't been released yet. And so you can see in terms of kind of projecting where we are, we aren't really in any jeopardy of being a low performing district. We'll have plenty of schools that are meeting the criteria of not low performing, so that's not a concern. In terms of the number of schools exceeding growth, last year we had 10. Our projections indicate we'll probably be pretty close to that, 10 or 11 this year as well. And then the number of schools that received C or higher last year was 17. And again, we would probably be at 17 or 18 this year. So we'll be pretty close to those numbers as well. And then I believe the next slides talk about CTE. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Thompson. But before he comes up, are there any questions about any of the data or the calculations or what's coming, what you have or don't have at this point? Thank you. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Mr. Thompson.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So I'll make a disclaimer as well. These are preliminary numbers. I think we'll get ours soon with the actual numbers for this year. So I will be presenting a few slides on CTE and the accomplishments that we've made this year and some things, highlights of what we've done. So the first one is about our state assessment. So just so you understand, career and technical education actually has 3 proofs of learning, actually 4. One being a state assessment, just like the EOC and EOG. Then we have a PBM that's called a performance-based measure, where students have to do a certain skill to show that they are proficient in whatever course they've taken. Another one is credentialing. And then the last one is a local assessment. And so within this state assessment, you have 3 factors. You have one being the state assessment, the PBMs factored in there, and the local. And so we have a variety each year of changing around. So you can see this year, this past year, we dropped just a little, about almost 1%. And so we're going to continue to be working on that piece, but we're very excited about the next slide. So with credentialing, we have moved, and if I showed you the whole trend, we moved from like 20% to last year to 43% to this year, almost 60% of students that are proficient in a credential, and they've earned this credential. They haven't just taken their credential, they've earned a credential in the industry recognized credential. And so we're very proud about that, because those students can utilize those credentials as they go into the workforce, whether it's to make more money, whether it gives them an edge on getting the job. And so we're excited about that. So those courses that were related to credentialing, also, these are the numbers that we have here. And then the next slide is actually our work-based learning opportunities. So last year, we were at 215, which was a large jump as well, if you remember. This past year, we had provided 255 work-based learning opportunities. And you can see at the top, this may include an internship. This can include a pre-apprenticeship, job shadowing, advanced studies. And so these students are actually getting that work-based learning so that they're prepared to either take on the job where they're in the work-based learning immediately, or either they have the skills to continue what they've learned in their pathways. So these are the 3 areas I wanted to share today. So I will entertain any questions anyone has. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Afternoon.
So to talk about FAFSA, favorite subject of everyone, all the parents love it. You know, it's not a easy process to complete that application. So we had 3 parent nights at Nash Community College, Nash Central High School, and Rocky Mountain High School for parents to come out and get assistance with filling out this application. And we had scheduled 2 different times at Southern, but 2 different weather events knocked us out at Southern Nash High School. So we plan to pick that up again this year. Next slide, please. So we had a goal of a 5% increase of number of completions, and you see we increased it by 13.4%. So that is going from 469 total of our seniors to 532 is a great accomplishment. It was a lot of hard work. We partnered with Nash Community College, Wesleyan. Our counselors did a great job in pushing out the information. We used some money from Britton from My Future, where we created yard signs and flyers, just trying to get the information out to our seniors and their parents. And it really made a difference to have a 13.4 increase. So we're very proud of that. Also, if you look at the completion rate, that's the total number of seniors, which varies from year to year, to the total number of completions. You see the nationwide, North Carolina, and Nash County. Now, Nash County doesn't just include our students, it also includes those that are in private school and charter schools. And when I looked at the charter school numbers, they were much lower than where we were. So if we could take out charter and take out the private schools, our numbers would be, the completion rate would be probably higher than the North Carolina average on that with the completion rate. So there's no way we could divide that information out to where it was only our students, but that's kind of where we are with the completion rate. But again, 13.4% is something to celebrate with our students, because that means they're getting the aid and the help and assistance they need to further their education. So I also get the chance to kind of hit our highlights for this past year. So worth bragging about, with the grant for the Echoes of Education, we started podcasts. That was a $49,000 grant. And that's good for our students and also our teachers to be able to use and create podcasts. The next is recognizing over 100 teachers that exceeded growth in EOGs and EOCs and CTE exams. Probably the first time we had over 100 ever. So very much we need to celebrate that, to see that, and hope to see that continue to grow. The next picture there you see is our very own sixth grader winning the spelling bee champion. So we wanted to put that as a highlight for Jalissa Foy. So we're proud of her and her accomplishment with the spelling bee. Next slide. Southern Nash Middle School STEM team earned the Jacobs Core Values Award, Best Use of Construction Materials from the Carolinas. Great award for us, recognition of the hard work our students put forth in that competition. And we were the recipient of the Discovery Education, and there were only 3 districts. One was in California, one was in Florida, and us. So this was a nationwide recognition. This is not just a North Carolina recognition. So we're one of 3 in multi-state. So we're very proud of that. And last, expanded advanced teaching role models. The ATR model, we increased it to our 2 middle schools and all of our elementary schools. And that's going to make a big difference in the impact of our students. Next slide. We will also recognize Central Region Science of Reading Champion Award for the 25. I'm very proud of that for our North Central region to be recognized there by the state. And Chad ought to be up here for this, for the mobile unit. Some of you were able to come out and see that mobile unit. Great learning lab for our students, that from elementary to middle to high, that to be able to explore different careers within that learning lab. And I know a lot of hard work was put in to have that lab. And not many school districts have a lab like that. So we're very proud of that. I believe it. And then the last, we have this past year, free virtual tutoring for Nash County students, online tutoring. So just another great opportunity for our students to get extra help. That's it for me. Any questions? Thank you.
Good afternoon. So today I want to kick off with student services information concerning priority number 2, increase the number of schools that exceed growth, and how the Student Support Services Department have helped impact that. First would be decreasing dropouts, and the second would be an improvement in attendance. There's also discipline data that we will discuss in this area as well. So here you see our attendance rate, and it goes back over 3 years. You see the 22-23 school year, where we were at 92.3% for elementary schools. You can see the 23-24, 91.4, and 24-25, 92.71. And as you look at each grade level within the district at the very bottom, you can see how it's played out over a 3-year period, and that we have had a slight increase. Those 24-25 numbers are not official yet and will not be official until the state sends out district and school report cards. Our dropout rates, We will not be able to get information for the 24-25 school year for dropout rates until after the first 20 days of school. Dropout rates come after that first 20 days because it's based on those students who do not return for the 25-26 school year. But as you can see, during the 22-23 school year, we were at 27.5. And then for the 23-24, we're at 2.58. So we did have a slight increase in our dropout rates there, or decrease, excuse me, and hopefully we'll be on the same trajectory for the 24-25 school year. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Tracy Barnes to come and talk to you about loss of suspension dates.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is just an overview of kind of how we ended the year in comparison to last year in terms of out-of-school suspension days lost and our long-term suspension rates. Our overall arching goal for priority 3 was to decrease the number of instructional days lost to out-of-school suspensions by 5%. As you can see, I've put those bigger numbers so that everyone can see. In 23-24, the number of days that we lost to out-of-school suspensions was 17,816. This year, we finished the year with a loss of 16,068 days due to out-of-school suspensions. Now, this data does remove the schools that we lost to the demerger, Baskerville, Johnson, Parker, and Fairview. And so we do have a decrease in out-of-school suspension days lost, 9.74% as compared to last year. Then you can see on the actual graphic here, blue represents on the chart represents this current past school year, and the red represents 23-24 school year. So you'll be able to see the comparisons between each of the schools. And so a number of schools did go down. We had some slight increases in some of the areas, but majority of those schools did go down in comparison from this past school year to last year. Next slide, please. Here's our long-term suspension data, and this is over a 3-year period. Last year, we finished the year with 10 long-term suspensions, and then the year previously, we had 16. We did go up slightly for this school year. We finished the year with 16 long-term suspensions, and as you can see, we had 0 across the board for elementary for all 3 years. We had a slight increase with our middle schools. We had 6, and high school, we went down in our long-term suspension rates, but you can see that our numbers did equal a little bit of an increase for long-term suspensions. And lastly, in terms of our number of office discipline referrals, we do track this data as well to see how many referrals are being written on students for each year. In 22-23, we had 23,270. The following year, we had 19,988. And this, of course, included our schools that we had before the demerger, but I went in and took that information out. And so this year we finished with 14,665 office discipline referrals for the entire district. So we have a 26.6% decrease in our office discipline referrals over the years previously. Are there any questions? All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. Here are some highlights from the village of 2024-25. First semester, we had some college tours, one to North Carolina A&T. We had a college career fair at Nash Community in the Brown Auditorium. In the spring, we visited North Carolina State. We had Read Across America, which our leaders, readers, and sneakers, our students from the high schools went to the elementary feeder schools and read to them throughout that week. We also had a leadership summit, and we had our end of the year celebration. Next, please. So in our mentorship session, some of the things that our mentors went over were included sessions about developing leadership skills. They also had some goal setting sessions where they were showed how to set realistic and achievable goals, career choices, insights on various careers and options. Mentees offered different professions, developed a greater understanding of required qualifications, and learned some steps to pursue desired career paths. Also in these sessions, they talked about choosing friends as an importance to selecting friends who have positive influences, and that was emphasized as well. Next, please. So here for last year, these are our total scholars at each of the high schools in Tar River Academy, which total up about 119 students. Next, please. They put on a career and college fair. This was the village group itself. Next. And with this, we partnered up with 27 of our business partners that showed a valuable exposure to various career paths and opportunities. We did, again, I'll hit back on the college tours. Went to North Carolina A&T and then North Carolina State University, the predominantly white institutions and the historical Black colleges and universities. These tours were well received. Kids had a great time, and they were able to see what it was like to go on and improve and go about their college and career as they move forward. And then they had an awesome end of the year recognition back in May, and it celebrated the growth and achievements that the mentees went throughout the school year. Next, please. So this year, the theme for the village is unlocking your future. We have the same activities. We have our career fair impact. That'll be in November. Again, our college tours, we're going to go to Elizabeth State University, Elizabeth City State University, and Pitt Community College. We'll also have our leadership summit, which we'll be reaching out to community partners and such. And that will take place at Nash Community College. And then we'll have our end of the year recognition. There are approximately 28 seniors that are going to graduate who enrolled in this program 4 years ago. And I think that's awesome that these young scholars were able to go through this mentorship and tour these colleges. And like I say, 28 seniors will graduate this year. And that's an awesome accomplishment. And for next year, we anticipate about 160 male youth joining the village. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Just a few highlights for our Student Support Services Department. One is our safe bolt locks for our elementary schools. We will start the 25-26 school year out with our elementary schools having these safe bolt locks in place. Kudos to Ms. Miller and her department for working to get these locks purchased for us and working with the company to get them installed and in place for our elementary schools to add another layer of school safety for our elementary students. Our Evolve machines are being installed at our elementary schools. In fact, they were already installed last week. And so now they're starting the process of going around to the elementary schools, having conversations with the principals, training staff, and we will be ready for, I think, most of our elementary schools to begin on day one, if not at least within the first 2 weeks of the school year. SROs, we have a lot of positions for all of our schools. Point that were in question was some of our elementary schools, but both of our law enforcement agencies are fully staffed. So there is a designated SRO for all of our elementary schools, middle schools, and our high schools. The CFS safety grants for elementary, middle school SROs and the school safety equipment, we were able to receive that grant again this past year. And of course, that money has been used to go towards helping pay for our SROs at our elementary schools and middle schools and for purchasing safety equipment and some training that we've done. Reunification training drill That was done back in July, I believe it was. We had an awesome outcome. I think we partnered with law enforcement agencies throughout our community. We had fire emergency management. We had DOT. I think there was one more group I'm leaving out. Did I say fire services? Yeah, fire service. Who? Yes, fire services was there. We had 2 school districts to come, and they wanted to see our drill in place, to see exactly what it looked like from kind of beginning to end. And so we were able to show them. We were at the State School Safety Summit this past week. Mr. Ward, our SRO supervisors, Ms. Lamb, and myself. And we had several school districts there who were approaching us about getting with us to share information about how to put such a process in place. So in many ways, Nash County Public Schools is ahead of many school districts as it relates to school safety. Tar River Academy, this year, we are opening the 25-26 school year with middle school students in place. 4 middle schools were able to place 10 students each, giving a total of 40 middle school students at Tar River Academy, which takes us back to where we were back, I believe we stopped doing middle school in 2000 and maybe 21. But before that, we always had middle school a part of Tar River Academy. So now we're bringing middle school back into the fold of Tar River Academy. Village leaders, readers, and sneakers. Mr. Johnson has already mentioned that, but that was something that our village members participated in this past school year. Again, they went to their elementary feeder schools and were able to read to the students, and that was a good turnout and a positive outcome for our elementary students and actually for our village mentees. Ms. Grant?
Good afternoon. I am going to read from my paper because I'm really excited about this. I want to make sure we get it right. We are one of the few LEAs in the state of North Carolina who were accepted into the 2025 cities, which is the Center on Inclusive Technology and Educational Systems, that were accepted into the Targeted Technical Assistant National Cohort. We went through a rigorous interview and application process, and we were found to have intentional collaboration between instructional academics and accountability. We use different language in our district, and technology, and they found a strong infrastructure with our technology systems, a strong educational technology system that we had in place, and were impressed with the instructional efforts that we already had in place, and they do not see the level of collaboration amongst departments. So we're excited to work together to build a technology system that it gives accessibility for all of our students, and hopefully we'll continue the efforts that we have in place and just build upon the accessible technology and accessible materials within our district. We were dedicated this year to going out and telling our story because we all said we sit at conferences and we hear other districts tell the same story, and we're doing the same thing in our district. So we have worked really hard to pair, again, keeping in collaboration of cross-departmental. We were asked to be the keynote speaker at the State Department's NCPS conference, which is an instructional leadership conference. We actually were the best practices in leadership. So our EC and academics and accountability instructional teams actually led the keynote speaker for the leadership day. And we were really excited about that, it was great to have all our people recognized. And we presented at various national and state conferences. Next slide. Our school nursing department has been working over the past couple years in various state and national research projects pertaining to their role in youth suicide prevention. And our school lead nurse, Deb Terrell, was co-authored and published in a Journal of School Nursing for her assistance in the development of a survey tool and a data analysis tool, and also for that same suicide prevention and how students come into their office, and hopefully some of the things that they can pick up on can help our youth as they come into their office, pick up on some of those suicidal tendencies and addressing the youth mental health strategies when they're in their office as well.
Have you heard of that saying that he may not come when you want him, but he's right on time? All right, so I say that because this next point that I'm talking about, the technology device refresh plan, we were finally able to get one this year, and I'm just thanking the good Lord. So with that being said, we're going to be able to provide our second, fifth grade, and our ninth grade students new devices as the plan states. This year, what we did, we made sure that we focused on the student devices versus the staff devices. So we kind of cut the staff devices in half so that we can focus more so on the student devices. The second point is CrowdStrike. We have developed we have implemented a new CrowdStrike software. And what this is the endpoint, basically your antivirus. And the state has rolled this out and made it available to all school districts. So this is a robust antivirus. So we took the advantage of it, and we are saving our district $58,000 by adopting this software. Now, moving on, I think June 30th, 2025 of this year is the last date of a 5-year E-rate cycle. So between that time, we have utilized over $5 million to build that strong infrastructure that Christy just talked about. So I'm really happy. I'm proud. And I wanted to report that and make sure that the board knows that we are utilizing those resources that are available to us to make Nash County look great. Any questions for me?
Good evening. So as of now, we have 96 drivers that are full-time working AM and PM. We have 16 drivers working AM or PM shifts. Teacher assistants, we have 45 teacher assistants. 20 of them work full-time on a bus and full-time in the school system. We have 3 that have permits as of right now and are doing behind the wheel training as we speak. So everybody should be caught up by probably 18th of August. Next slide, please. So extra employment opportunity. If you remember back in May, we offered this for the drivers to make up time due to snow days. The CPR first aid training, we have 8 drivers that took advantage of it. Then NHTSA online class, we had 2 drivers take advantage of this opportunity. I know last year you said something about Narcan. With the help of the EC department, we done a 30-minute training session on all our drivers and monitors. And moving forward, right now, we should have Narcan on every bus in the overhead cabin this year. Thank you.
Have done.
I am Dr. Michelle Royster, and I want to speak to you regarding our family and community engagement for this past year. We had 23 parent ambassadors that represented every school in the district. We held 7 parent meetings between the month of October to May. Those meetings focused on strategic planning, our SWOT analysis, as well as different policies that the district was looking at, including cell phone policy, to make sure we get all of our stakeholders' input. These meetings were hybrid. They were face-to-face here at the central office, but parents could join us via Google Meet. We also had 25 vendors and community partners who throughout the year provided us with resources, which included food, which is maintained at the Williford Family Resource Center, as well as school supplies, coats, and shoes, and more items for our families. We did have a back-to-school festival last year, which we had over 1,000 attendees that focused on lifelong learning for our families. So we had 3 different educational institutions, including Barton, Wesleyan, ECU, and Nash Community College, to provide our families with information on going back to school to further their education, as well as for our seniors. We also focused on having community resources at our parents' fingertips. And so we had over 25 community resources at this event. And we also focused on social and mental health for our students. This year, we are having the same event. So far, we've had 41 vendors who want to partner with the school district and be in attendance. We, at all of our Title I and all of our schools, they had 2 parent workshops, one held in the fall and one that was held in the spring. And at this time, Carolyn.
Good afternoon.
No.
I am just going to go through a few highlights from the communication department. So this year we have done a lot of visual storytelling. That's digital campaigns, original graphics that were created in-house, as well as photography, videography, and branding that catches the eye and earns awards, which you will see on the next slide. We have also done coordinating social media, newsletters, website updates, press releases, communication, which includes like text messages, emails, and to parents and guardians. And then also we have supported schools with photography and videography, graphic design. We've done logos, all that stuff you can see in the pictures over there. And then as far as the website rebrand, we've saved over $50,000 with our new website vendor. And we are currently in the process of cleaning up websites to ensure the best communication possible. Next slide, please. And then as you can see here, we've won several awards. We've done gold. We won for Edwards School Marketing and Communication. And then we've won for Educator of the Year. We've won gold for Convocation and silver for rebranding of Nash County schools. And then we've also won award for merit for the demerger, and then award of excellence for rebranding of Nash County schools. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to briefly recap some of the most important questions when it comes to the end of year closeout. So the district did finalize all end of year DPI processing in a timely manner. The district also had a successful submission of that financial data to DPI, and we did not revert any usable state funding. And with that being said, the most important highlight for the district is that all funds ended in the black and not in the red. The finance department ended fully staffed, and we did complete a conversion from a system we were on for nearly 30 years. And I do have and will continue to have employees that are going through the NCPS training courses and graduating annually. But moving forward into this current fiscal year, just things to note, the state still has not passed their budget. So we are working on a preliminary state budget, and there has been no change to the salary schedules. Are there any questions?
Good afternoon. So I have a few updates for you from HR and federal programs.
First slide, I do want to let you know that in terms of our BTs, we did retain 90% of those for the 24-25 school year. We also had to restructure our mentoring program that we felt that was most beneficial to support our new teachers and their various needs. We only had 2 non-renewals for the 24-25 school year. And this is worth celebrating because in years past, we're always at 30 or above. And I contributed that to the mentoring and the support that our BTs, our staff has given our BTs. All employees received the retention bonus at the end of the 24-25 school year, with the exception of the executive cabinet, and it was prorated based on a hire date for all classified and certified staff. Next slide. Just to give you a highlight, I often hear about VIFs, which are our visiting international faculty. And this is the number that we currently have in the district. 24 of those are J1 visas. That means that they're temporarily, they can only work for 5 years in a program and they have to return home. As of 2025, we were able to retain 21 of them, but we lost 3 of them because they had to go back. They ended their 5-year. H-1B visas, we have 58 that are permanent, that will lead to permanent residency over the course of 6 years. 57, one of them had to return home this year due to a family emergency. And in the 24-25 school year, we recruited 14, and we currently retained all 14. So that just gives you a percentage of how they are working in our district. Next slide. Just a few highlights from our department. We did have a successful transition to Link platform. One of the perks of this, it does allow us and finance to work closely together and be able to be transparent with what we're doing in the programs without having to take a huge paper trail back and forth. We did have a successful DPI audit of the beginning teachers program. In years past, we had this about 4 years ago, and we had over 20 findings from that audit. And when they evaluated the program this past year, we only had 4. And DPI is also hosting a regional meeting here in the fall, and they're going to use our program as a model to share with other districts. Successful federal McKinney veto audit. And we also presented retirement sessions to 85 employees, and they often talk about how beneficial that is for them. And HR and federal programs also were presenters at various conferences on the national and the regional level this year. Additional highlights. We did have the summer program that was offered to 80 elementary students this school year in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club. It was hosted at Bailey and Nashville Elementary, and this was a free program to our students. We provided 19 care kits for the identified McKinney veto students. These were our seniors, and it was a suitcase full of items that they could take with them as they went on to their future journeys. We conducted 2 McKinney veto supply drives. We had a huge donation that included blankets, hygiene items, cleaning supplies, towels, children's coats, raincoats. We hosted 2 drives where families could come by and pick these items up, choose what they want as much as they wanted, and they were held at various areas in the district. And we also had 7 parent graduates of Parenting Partners, and they were our pre-K parents. So we were proud of that as well. Any questions? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm excited to bring some good news and closure this afternoon. We'll start with school nutrition. So you've heard me talk about a little bit with our CEP, which is feeding our students at no cost. It's the word we use. So many years ago, you'll see we got 22, 23, 23, 24, and then our current 24, 25. The increase has been drastic in our district. When the demerger happened, our school nutrition team actually resubmitted because this CEP program is for 5 years, and we got an additional year added on. So we have 5 more years moving forward with CEP for our entire school district. So at the very bottom, you will see the increase in the total number of breakfasts and lunches that we have increased in our district, which I think does attribute to what we're seeing with the involvement of our students academically. Next slide. This tells you a little bit about CEP. The a la carte items still have to be purchased. This is with the exclusion, of course, of our teachers, and any adults do have to pay for their meals. And it tells you a little bit about the direct certification and how we do with the data and how it's submitted with our district. And then at the very end, it tells you again that we did get an increase. We increased another year, so we've got 5 years moving forward. They take the data and we put it together from the schools, and they position certain schools together so that our CEP population and our federal Medicaid, that data is put together, and that's how we qualify as a district. Moving, yes, sir.
Is data being kept on rising test? I know you said something about education. I sure hope data is being collected on rising test scores and CEP.
Well, we across the state, they do keep up with, it's the data shows that if they're not hungry, they come to school. It's increased. It's helped us with our discipline. It's helped us with our test scores and with our tardies getting to school in the mornings. They come to school to eat before they go to class. So we've had a huge increase, and that's partly why.
We don't get that much food.
I'm excited to share with you some information on our maintenance crew. I get the privilege to work with them every day as well of school nutrition. Here's a little bit about the accomplishments. So we do, thanks to the board, have a rotation now with our playgrounds. And I have had significant community members that have reached out in the last few months to ask about the rotation and when is their school on the rotation. The principals are working with their leadership teams and their PTOs, and they do have plans in place, but the rotation is going very well. Playground equipment installed at Coopers and Spring Hope, that is done in-house. And the school does get to pick the equipment that they want. And then sometimes if it fluctuates in price somewhat, the school is able to add to that to get exactly what they want that'll meet their needs at the school level. Re-roofing of Nash Central Middle School locker room area, early college, high school classroom wing, and the Southern Nash Middle School admin offices. You heard Dr. Farrow tell you a little bit about the middle school as far as Tar River. That was an exciting renovation. You'll see some pictures on that in a moment, but that's in place and ready to roll for those 5 classrooms and administration there. I'm excited to tell you that we have gotten the occupancy for Northern Nash Fieldhouse, and they moved in last week. And we actually got to go over there as some of the kids were moving in. It was real exciting to see their faces. So you'll see a little bit about that in a moment. But we're excited to kick off the school year, not only with that, but flag football. And, Melissa's made me have to step up my game a little bit because it used to be all about athletics. Now academics is catching up with us. So we're excited about the field house. The installation of the Spring Hope Elementary LED sign, there were some hold up on that, but that was just due to codes and some certifications that had to be met in the county. Install, Red Oak Middle School. You'll see a picture in a moment, but the maintenance crew helped install the life-size tiger at the school entrance and helped them light that up. It's pretty cool. You need to go take a look at that if you haven't. Southern Nash High School, the mechanical systems in the 400 building, that was 4 classrooms. Williford Learning Center, they've been working really hard on that all summer. That was at the pre-K end. It's been a bit overwhelming. It looks fantastic. It's going to be a wonderful experience for the kids. It'll be up and running. Actually, they did a test run on that last week. So LED lighting, floor repairs, and our HVAC system. Replacement of the fire alarm at Northern Nash, the demerger projects that needed to be completed, which was Rocky Mount Middle School auditorium, Edwards Elementary elevator upgrade. Those were done in-house. And the auditorium, the windows come in September, and we have ordered new curtains, but you've been in there. We had graduations in there. It's fantastic. It's been wonderful for the students and the administration. The new sidewalk at Cooper's Elementary for the student drop off and the repaired wood floor and it is been installed with the VCT at Nash Central High School dance room, which was a much needed repair, and we were able to complete that over the summer. Here's a little bit about Williford. You'll see the flooring is in the first picture to the left. On the right, you'll see the ceiling with the HVAC and all that they were putting in place. That is being completed now. The teachers, I think I shared with you during demerger, they were bothered with the stains on the carpet, the kids eating in the classroom. To meet everyone's needs, they went back with some repurposed areas and went back to tile flooring. And that's worked out really well. It's going to be much cleaner for those young students. This is the new Tar River Academy. You got to see it to believe it, but that has been an in-house project. This to the left, you're going to see some of the office areas where they can meet with the students. Those middle school students do not have to go in the high school wing, so the teachers will come to them or their counselors and be able to meet their needs there. This open seating area can be used for many things. They will still be eating in their classroom because they have 5 classrooms as well. Look at Mr. Weeks, you won't believe the transformation. I'd love for you to go take a look at it. It's in the old behind it. Yes, carpentry. That's right. So yeah, I could talk about that all night. Yes, just move me on. Northern Nash Fieldhouse. So this is actually you're the first to see this picture. Dennis took this one night because the one thing that's different is it's lit up. This is a real living live picture because in the top, it's got the nights lit up on the score clock, which is the way you'll see it at game night. They had just got all the lighting in place for that. Next. So the lockers look fantastic, but let me just say, the coaching staff came up with a plan. You saw the floors. We said we're not going to fix the floors until we all get the community members through because we wanted to take that moment to give it for the kids. They come up with this plan. Our maintenance team brought this to life, and it was breathtaking to watch them move in and get their stuff in place. So that was exciting. The far right picture is the big office coaching area. Right before, if you look out that window, you see the whole football field. So that'll be where the kids and certain offense, defensive teams will be meeting and coaches. It's going to be a learning area for them to go over plays. Next, the training room to the left, which looks very, very different right now because now it has lots of stuff in it and sweaty bodies, but it's all good. It looks wonderful. They've worked real hard to get all their gear. The kids helped move everything into place. So that really brought it to life. On the right, they've got that is full now, but those are hooks that the maintenance team met with Coach Ferris and his crew, and they said, "Hey, we want a place to hang the helmets. We want to be able to keep them clean and spray them and do this, that, and the other." So that was put in place in the room. We knew that it was going to be a storage room for their gear, but made some adjustments there, and our team was able to bring that to life. And I'm closing with a lot of exciting news with athletics. As I talked to you a little bit about middle school, I had to condense and tell them, just send me some of your top highlights at the school level from each of our middle and high school. Remember that with our middle schools, it's 3 counties. So Wilson, Nash, and Edgecombe. Again, I know some people get in their feelings about the aggressiveness of winning and pushing them to be the best. But if you look at this and the number of sports we have at the middle school, you're about to see our 4 middle schools bring home a lot of championships at the middle school level. So that's very exciting. So the relaunch of the Athletic Booster Club, the Booster Club got back into swing at Southern Nash Middle School, which has been tremendous for that school. The baseball team won the Tri-County Championship, and the boys and the girls cross-country teams won as conference champs, which is that's a first, which bought us a little more time with Jeff Dodger because he said, "I'm gonna tell you what, I can't retire on a losing streak." So he's fired up and ready to go. So Southern Nash Middle School, you'll see some pictures that they submitted. Rocky Mount Middle School, the boys won the Tri-County Conference and wrestling won Tri-County Conference. Now keep in mind, as we're talking about these sports, this is 3 counties. Next, Nash Central Middle School, They won in softball, they won in volleyball, girls basketball, and girls soccer, all with the Tri-County Championship. And many years ago, we didn't have championships with middle school. What we've seen when we brought that to life was it really pushed the kids a little bit more academically and athletically. It increased their seasons a little longer and the love of their school. The excitement to be able to be a part of this has even helped us at the high school level as it talks about competition. But you'll see in the top right corner the Red Oak Middle symbol, and Jeff Dodrell had a lot to do with that. So that's very exciting for them. Red Oak Middle School, Tri-County Conference Boys Soccer back-to-back conference champions, and Tri-County Conference Tennis back-to-back conference champions, and Boys Cross Country winning the Southern National Invitational. So that was our middle school. We do meet this Thursday with all 3 counties and get started with our sports for the upcoming school year. And that's a kickoff for all coaches. Next, we'll talk about high school a little bit. I had to condense with the high schools too and tell them just give me 2 or 3 of your top things that you want to talk about. So for Nash Central High School, I'm going to brag on Kyle Bain. He got his master's in athletic administration through his CMAAs. He then also he's still coaching and doing athletic director, and he won the Dudley Whitley Coach of the Year for this past school year. Eastern Regional men's track champions, and 14 of 17 teams competed in postseason play. That was huge for Nash Central. And they have really stepped up their game a little bit with their athletics. So I know they're 2A, and I'm pushing hard for that, all of ours to be in the same conference in the next 4 years, but they are really standing out and doing well at the school. Northern Nash High School, Big East Conference champions in football, in boys basketball, boys track, and boys swimming. So Northern had a really, really good, exciting year, and all of the sports have done really well, but these are just some of the main highlights. Rocky Mount High School, boys track won the 3A regionals for outdoor. Then you see East-West All-Star football game, and you'll see East-West All-Star basketball game in individuals that participated. Big news for Southern Nash High School. They won the Big East Wells Fargo champion. So what that means is the state keeps, with each conference, they keep a tally of the number of sports and how highly you are ranked, you get more points. So for the whole Big East, Southern Nash High School won that last year. We do like to keep that in county. And that was a big win for Southern Nash. So that means their sports teams did so well that they had the most points in our entire conference. Big East softball team conference champions, and they did advance to the 4th round. And then with boys soccer team, they won the conference and advanced to the 4th round as well. So athletically, and you know this, it's been an exciting year, and we are ready. And they started last Wednesday, and it's been an impressive few days. Great number of students, and I'm going to attribute that to you guys as well, because when a lot of counties were shutting down during COVID, and we kept everything up and running, and we can see a difference strength-wise and attention with our students. So another highlight, and this is my final slide, and I'll take questions. Southern Nash Middle School. This just goes over our timeline a little bit. We've been able to meet the last 2 weeks. I think we've met a couple of times just to talk about, what are some needs and wants, some things that we have to have at the school level, and the principal was a part of that last week. We were able to make some modifications. We're still on the building process as far as what does it need to look like, what needs to go where, and then we'll be bringing something to our committee to look at before it comes to the board. So we're still in the construction drawing part of that in November. By November, we should have the contractor picked, and then groundbreaking sometime in the month of January. The goal is still August 11th of 2027. I'll take any questions that y'all might have for my section.
What didn't?
Well, not a lot, but we're working to get all that in place this year. Thank you.
So do we have any we kind of thought we'd have some questions today. I'll be glad to close this out, but are there any questions to any of the cabinet members or you all would like to ask?
Yeah, I got one. As a board member, I'd like to thank our committees and departments for a great job. I can tell, and we can tell, everybody's been working extremely hard. Enough attention has not been paid to reunification drill. I was very impressed. I've never seen that many agencies in the school system working together to help all our students as much as that one drill was. Thank you all for a job well done.
I would say to our media partners, a lot of good stuff. A lot of academic, a lot of athletics, and a lot of tax dollars being spent very well. New construction, money saved. I'd love to see a whole full page, free of charge. But I mean, but all joking aside, that is a lot of good stuff that a lot of times these folks sitting on that side, not just us, but more them than us, they get beat. They get beat down, they get talked about, and they're busting their humps a lot of times behind the scenes, and we don't see it. Kudos. That shows the hard work that they've done, and I'd really, really like to see some good publicity so the public and the taxpayers and the parents can say, wow, just like I did. Thanks. Me? So in closing, I'm just going to say, I want to thank this team, everyone in here, administrators, staff, stakeholders, everyone. But there was a story I remember because it was might have been 5 years ago. I think we were in one of these meetings where we were told that we were a sinking ship by an agency here that we will not name. And that was the word used. You want to get off that sinking ship. Well, ship's not sinking, and it's moving along, and it's because of all of y'all. And I appreciate, when you start with about 20 some low performing schools about 6 years ago, and all this stuff happens, you're exactly right. We could have been that sinking ship because I think we were one of the 5 districts that were chosen to get help from the Ivory Towers. I'll say it that way. And I remember sitting in this cabinet meeting talking about, we're tired of seeing everybody else come help us. And we wanted to start seeing them people come to see us. Well, I hope the paper sees that they're coming to see us now. And it's because of all in this room right here. I want to thank the board for their support, because when we started talking about high expectations, that means a whole lot in a school building. And you can tell today what it's done. And we got probably a long way to go, because you know how we all are. We want to be at the top. We're not at the top, but we get there. And I know Dr. Mudd, when he talked about some of this testing, I got my fingers crossed, because there's a lot of good things that I think could happen when those test scores come out. And I got just a good feeling. We'll see. But I just want to thank you all, because you have moved this district around. People are talking, and it is so good to go to superintendent school when they talk about Nash County. All right. So thank you all from me. All right. That's my close.
Anybody got anything else like to add? Without that, I will adjourn the retreat. Our next meeting will be at 5.